So what really works for menopause belly fat? Today we're going to be busting some myths and giving you some solutions you can start to actually work on right now. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kate Hartley. I share a weekly video with you every Monday around something related to menopause, generally around gut health, weight loss, belly fat loss, muscle retention, muscle building. But if you've got anything specific you would like me to cover, then please drop it in the comments below. And if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so that you don't miss future episodes. You can also always find me on Instagram or Facebook at Kate Hartley UK, where you can message me privately if you would prefer to, because it's a bit public on the YouTube platform. So belly fat is something I think probably 99.9% of menopausal women experience. Just so that you're aware of it, I do not take HRT myself. I have nothing against it. I think it's down to all of us to make our own minds up. But I know some women cannot take HRT, some do not want to, and others have tried it and it doesn't work really well, and others have used HRT and it's working brilliantly. So rather than standing on a particular fence and becoming very defensive about it, I think it's very important that we have a conversation around what's working for each and every one of us, because there are always things that you can do to further improve your journey. Even if you're using HRT and you're feeling great on it, I really hope that's the case for you. Healthy lifestyle factors will further influence how well you age. Healthy longevity rather than just longevity, and that's really what we want to focus on, regardless of what you're taking or not taking for your menopause symptoms. So menopause belly fat can be why? I felt the same way when I went through perimenopause. I was done with the whole thing by about the age of 41. I'm now 54, and I really thought, what's going wrong? I had always been relatively slender and always been relatively active. I ate relatively cleanly, and I enjoy my drink. I love beer, wine, whiskey, cider. I don't avoid carbs. I bake my own goods, which I love, like home-baked scones and banana loaf and chocolate cakes and things like that. Don't use an awful lot of sugar. So, but I just want you to understand that I am just a normal, healthy human being that likes her occasional treats or regular treats. But so I was eating a wide range of stuff before I went through the perimenopause, and then all of a sudden it hit. And while I was doing exercise, I was like piecing together. So I was doing, it's just like trying to find things on YouTube, think, oh, I'll do that movement tomorrow. I was doing my weighted exercises from home. I was swimming over a mile, probably 4 times a week, and that was fast, proper front crawl swimming. I used to train with a triathlete, so we were not hanging around. In fact, she went on to win one of the Iron Woman championships, so it was proper training. And I was also hula hooping, because I figured, oh, I didn't know in those days that you can't really spot reduce fat. So there's me hula hooping away like mad. I used to try and do 20 to 25 minutes every single day. I bought this very expensive weighted hula hoop, and still the weight kept coming up. I was thinking, right, well, I'm just going to have to starve myself then. So obviously, like most good women who were putting on weight, I starved myself, and I felt absolutely miserable. I love food, I love drink, and it was just like, I have to say my cravings got even worse for sugary stuff, for the wine, for the beer, for the cider, whatever it might have been. Even though I was restricting, I just had these awful cravings. My sleep was terrible. I was getting awful hot flushes, terrible night sweats. Just developed all my symptoms just got worse. And I thought I was doing all the right things. So I'm going to sort of bust a few myths with you today, because I think we've all made them. And it's not about pointing the finger at you and saying, you're stupid, or you shouldn't have done that, because most of us have done it. We've learned through trial and error. And I wish I'd known back then what I know now, because I could have made my journey through the perimenopausal years so much more fun and enjoyable and less symptomatic too. So in this video, I'm going to be busting a few myths and also giving you a few helpful solutions. So the main culprits of menopausal, perimenopausal belly fat gain, they are hormonal changes. They are cortisol and stress. Obviously, cortisol is a hormone. I'm going to be going into that in a little bit of detail in a minute. What you eat and you don't eat, your gut health, and understanding the role that insulin plays. I'm not going to get too scientific, but it's important that you have a vague understanding of the impact of insulin on your body, because then it just helps you understand what's going on when you're eating certain foods. So firstly, the hormonal changes. You'll probably find that as you've gone into the perimenopause, postmenopausal years, what weight that you may have had on your legs and your bum has gone up around the middle. It's quite often for menopausal women to be quite round around their tummies, and they've got little stick legs. without joking or being too glib, it's a bit like being an apple on sticks. And all of a sudden, our body fat composition changes, it shifts. And that is due to the falling estrogen, the falling testosterone, the falling progesterone. Mainly estrogen is the one to blame, but it's important that you know that it is just your falling sex hormones that are causing these issues of this fat redistribution. Next thing we need to factor in is cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones. So as our sex hormones are declining, they're getting erratic through perimenopause, the adrenal glands are actually designed to do the backup job of the ovaries. So once your ovaries go into retirement, or once they're surgically removed, the adrenal glands would necessarily give out certain levels of estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, etc. If your adrenal glands are in not such a great way because of all the stress that we have in our lives, they find it harder to do that job. In an ideal world, your adrenal health will be good. But with this day and age, our lives are so busy, they're chaotic. It's a political uncertainty, economic uncertainty. You might be caring for elderly parents. You might be doing the empty nest thing, which is very stressful and awful at the time. You might be, looking after grandchildren. You might be afraid of your financial future. There are so many different things. You might be dealing with health issues yourself or loved ones' health issues. There are so many things happening around just, aside from the things that may impact your life. So, is your job really busy? Is it a job that you don't like? Are you eating and drinking the foods that support your adrenal health rather than relying on those foods that you think are treats, but in actual fact are negatively impacting your adrenal health? So cortisol is a really important thing to factor in, because we have 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors around our belly than we do in any other part of the body. So stress management is one of the most important things you can do to mitigate the risks of developing perimenopause or menopausal belly fat. And then we need to think about insulin, because insulin is our fat storing hormone. As cortisol levels rise, it automatically triggers the rise of more insulin. So as we go through the menopause, technically our cortisol levels and our insulin levels do rise more. Now, when our insulin levels are raised over a long period of time, which is in the case of a lot of people because they're eating too many fast refined carbs, you're spiking your insulin levels, so they never really get time to come down. So that leads to insulin resistance. Insulin locks the cell's ability to actually burn fat or to shed fat. So what I'll do is there was a video I did not long ago about the science of why we get fat and insulin's role in that. There are a few images in that video to help you understand, give you a visual graphic of what actually happened. I suggest you take a look at it because it will really give you good insight as to the importance of understanding your insulin levels. There are certain levels of food, there are certain macros that spike insulin more than others. So for instance, fat has a very small impact on your insulin. Protein does make your insulin rise a little bit, and then your carbs, and then obviously your refined carbs make your insulin spike way high. And the problem with all that is the fact that say most people are eating too many refined carbs. So you might have a couple of biscuits in the morning. How often do you have 2 biscuits? Let's face it, we want to eat the pack. But just say you have 2 biscuits, so your insulin spikes right up here, and then it doesn't have time to come down enough before you eat something else. That even might be a healthy meal, but again, your insulin levels will go up because whenever we eat food, apart from really fat, it does have an impact on our insulin levels. But the problem is most of us are eating the wrong types of foods too often. So our insulin is just spiking, and then it's going up, and it's going up, and it's going up. And over a long period of time, it's never coming down. The only time it might well come down within a healthy range is when you've gone to sleep. But so many of us are then eating and snacking late after our evening meal. So you're not actually having a decent window of nothingness in order for your insulin levels to come down into a healthy level. And then the next day, you just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. So insulin has a massive impact on your ability to shed fat. So what you want to be focusing on is just eating whole foods, ideally. And you want to be understanding that, obviously fat, the very small insulin spike. Protein will make it go up a little bit higher. It's like your fruits, your vegetables, they're healthy carbs. And then of course you've got your squashes, your potatoes, your starchy carbs, your brown rice, your quinoa, your bulgur wheat, and then of course you've got your white pasta, your white rice, etc., etc. So as you go up, it has, and then you've got your refined carbs like your sugars, your biscuits, your cakes, your cookies, your croissants, etc. That is right at the top, and those are the things you want to be ideally not eating at all on some days, or in an ideal world, just cut the things out because they do you no good at all, particularly if fat loss is a problem that you want to resolve. Gut health is also a really key player as far as your body's ability to maintain a healthy weight and also manage stress effectively. So if your gut health is off, you may not even be absorbing the nutrients that you're eating in the healthy foods that you're eating. So you might be doing everything right, but because your gut bacteria, your microbiome is not quite healthy enough, it's actually not absorbing the nutrients that you need to absorb properly. Again, last week I did a big one on gut health, and the week before that as well. So maybe spin back to those two as well. I'll link them in the comments section below, so you've got easy access to those. But gut health is really key. Also, if you've got inflammation, you've got maybe leaky gut, what happens is some of the bacteria from the food that we eat, some of the tiny particles can pass through the gut lining into your bloodstream, which then creates inflammation. Well, that generates a stress response in the body. So then, then again, you're looking at your inflammatory markers are going up, your immune system's being compromised. 70% of our immune system is around the gut. So when there's inflammation around there, it's having a massive impact on your immune system. But that's also can be the trigger for autoimmune diseases, because the immune system's constantly firing off due to this inflammation that's being created through your leaky gut wall. And that can have all sorts of long-term health impact for you. But among the various many health impacts can also be raised belly fat levels. So again, it's because of the stress that your body is under, and the fact that your immune system's on high alert, and then it becomes hypersensitive, which is then leading to those autoimmune disorders. And then finally, on the culprits of menopausal belly fat, I sort of covered it a bit, it's the food and the drink. Things like your flavored sodas, just stop drinking them. They've got high fructose corn syrup in them. That leaches the calcium out of your bones. People talk about, oh, I need a calcium supplement. No, you just need to stop peeing it out of your body. Most of us, if we eat a healthy diet, we're getting enough calcium in our food. You generally do not need a calcium supplement. And often when you take a calcium supplement, there's that risk that it doesn't know where to go. If you take a vitamin D3 tablet, take it with a K2 as well, D3 and K2, because that then because you're synthesizing calcium properly, it directs the calcium to where it needs to go, i.e. your bones or your teeth, rather than the your lungs, your arteries, and that sort of thing. So often we don't need to take a calcium supplement unless you've been specifically advised to do so. You should, if you're eating green leafy vegetables. Dairy to a degree is going to help improve your calcium intake, but just be mindful of that. The high fructose corn syrup that's in a lot of the ketchups, the mayonnaises, your salad dressings, your sodas, the high fructose corn syrup literally leaches the calcium out of your bones, making the risk of brittle bone disease even higher, because we're at greater risk through menopause and beyond of brittle bone disease. And you pee it out of your body, which is not doing you any favors at all. Just also quickly on brittle bone disease, cortisol, so stress hormone, that has a catabolic effect on the body. So as well as contributing to your belly fat, it also nibbles away at your bones, your skin. That's why we get more wrinkly quicker. It just catabolic means it breaks down. So just be mindful of that. Stress management, as well as helping reduce your belly fat, will help you on every single other level too, because it's going to prevent that catabolic breakdown taking place as fast as it does when you've got higher levels of stress. And also, even if you're doing everything else right, so you're eating healthy, your gut health's good, you're doing your resistance training, you're doing your steady state cardio, etc., if you are under serious stress, it's going to be pretty much impossible to get rid of that belly fat. So just be mindful of that. There are when I know when I've been going through stressful periods of my life, I actually stopped worrying about the belly fat, because it's why worry about it, because you're just adding more stress to it. But you know that once you get through that stressful period, your belly fat will go down if you're doing the other things right. So just be aware of that. I think everybody thinks, oh, it's what you're eating, and you're just greedy or you're lazy. Actually, it's not as simplistic as that. So levels of stress will definitely negatively impact belly fat. So going on to effective solutions for getting rid of menopausal belly fat, one of the most effective things is to build lean muscle. So as we get older, as we go through the menopause, the cortisol breaks things down. The percentage of muscle that we lose as we get older increases so fast, and also our bone density. So if you're not using resistance training, and that is just using weights, it's weight training of any type. So it's resistance, it could be resistance loops, it could be resistance bands, it could be body weight, it can be dumbbells, it could be barbells. It's what, you know, even like a push-up or a squat, that's body weight, involves no equipment at all. That is known as a resistance exercise. You need to be doing that regularly in order to keep your bones strong and to build the lean muscles. Now, when you've got lean muscles, the great thing about this is the fact that it directly takes some of the glucose out of your bloodstream. So when we're talking about insulin sensitivity or resistance, if you are insulin resistant, and the vast majority of people are to a certain degree, you might not be diabetic, but there are signs that you've got insulin resistance. You can increase your sensitivity by building lean muscle. You need lean muscle. If you want to have a healthy older age, you need the muscle, because it doesn't just help with how you look, it helps with your posture, which helps your digestion, which helps your breathing. It keeps you upright, it keeps you stable. So, you know, if you trip over something, if you've got decent muscles, you've got your fast twitch muscles, your slower twitch muscles, slower muscle fibers, you're able to catch yourself. And even if you do fall, if you've been strength training, your bones are going to be a lot more dense. They're going to be a lot more pliable, because a stiff bone is not healthy either. They move. They're growing. Bones are. They're constantly. You want some pliability in the bones. And so if you've got good bone strength, if you've got good musculature, the chances of you, if you do fall over, of bouncing well are much, much higher. So just be mindful of that. It's not just really about looking like you've got nice toned arms or reducing the cellulite. It is about longevity and not breaking the bones and the hips and the pelvises, which, once you're bedridden for a while, it's so hard to get your muscles back. You can. It's never too late to start. And if you've been recovering from illness or injury for a long period of time, please don't lose heart, because you can build it back up again. But I think the important thing to take away from this is start it like now, if you can. Do not delay. Strength training does not need to mean that you are feeling like you're about to vomit and pass out on the spot. I wouldn't do that either. That would be horrible. It's not punishment. It's about celebrating your body and allowing it to flourish in a way that suits you best. It will challenge you. It has to challenge you. Otherwise, it's not making any difference to you. But it needs to challenge you within a manageable level, rather than to a level where you're actually terrified of doing it because you're finding it so hard. And that's the beauty of doing some of like the home workouts that I have access to, that we have, they're geared for all different levels and different lengths of time. The one I'm doing at the moment is no equipment. I need the space of a yoga mat in order to do it. It's at home, so I don't even have to travel to the gym, and it's only 20 minutes long. And it's brilliant at getting rid of your belly fat, because it's so well put together. It's zero impact. It's all body weight. There's no like crazy, well, there's no jumping at all. It will get your heart rate up. It's such a cleverly put together workout program. It's sort of primal flow, athletic yoga, but it's brilliant. But it's just 20 minutes long, 5 days a week. And it's super effective. A lot of the ladies that I'm working with, it's a challenge. You wouldn't think it would challenge you so much in 20 minutes, but because it's building the lean muscle, it's not overly stressing anything. And the core, because the moves in it involves the core all the time. So, you know, people say, oh, I've been doing all these crunches to try and get rid of my belly fat. You cannot spot reduce. Crunches will give you stronger muscles. We all want a strong core, because it essentially, you know, around our back as well, it holds us up. But you cannot spot reduce. It's like me in hula hooping in the olden days. I didn't realize then. I was hoping it would make my waist go in, and it didn't. It's just like, just spent 20 to 25 minutes hula hooping like a crazy thing most days. So just be mindful of the fact that when you've got that lean muscle, it's going to strengthen your bones, but it's also going to improve your insulin sensitivity, because it directly sucks glucose out of the bloodstream. This one is stress management. Things like journaling, meditation, walking in nature. I think find what works for you best. My brain is way too busy to meditate. And that's probably something I would need to try and work through and overcome at some point. If, you know, a meditation master would say, well, it's because I'm doing it wrong, or I'm not probably committing to the practice properly. Yeah, maybe. But I know that journaling works well for me, so I can get the stuff out of my head. And I love writing, and so I find journaling works really well. Exercise works really, really well for me. That has been my life savior for some of my hardest moments of my life. And then being outside in nature, for me, that is so grounding, and it makes me feel so peaceful. So find what works best for you. Don't feel like you should be doing it this way, because that might not work for you. And when you're stressed and when life's crazy, you don't want to be trying to force yourself to, say, meditate. If you find meditation really hard, do something that you find easy. And then as life sort of takes on more of a controllable aspect for you, then maybe look at meditation at some point in the future. But do not feel that you need it to do it just because somebody else does it and it works for them. Find what works best for you. Next is your gut health. So make sure that you're eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, because those contain the fiber. I mean, they're full of, obviously, the vitamins, the minerals, really important things that we need, but also they contain the fiber, and the fiber is what we call prebiotics. The prebiotics feed the probiotics. The probiotics are the healthy bacteria. So you can get the healthy bacteria from things like raw cheeses, fermented foods, you know, like kombucha, sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, that sort of thing, tempeh, that, you know, all your sort of fermented foods are going to be great for your gut bacteria. You can also buy the probiotics from the supermarket. Just be mindful, if you're buying something that's very highly priced, often make sure what the sugar levels in it are, because often they're really sugary, and that's no good for you either. So if it's got, you know, if it's very little sugar, very few grams of sugar, you know, sort of maybe less than 3 or 4 grams of sugar per 100-gram serving as a guide, then it's going to be fine. And make sure, you know, it's got a wide range of the probiotics. It will say on the pack what it contains. So prebiotics feed the probiotics. The probiotics are the healthy bacteria that we need in our gut in order to stay healthy and to absorb the nutrients from the foods that we're taking. There's you know, people say, well, you just need the prebiotics to, you know, they're enough, the sort of the fiber is enough to let your gut do what it needs to do. There are more and more papers out there now suggesting that the fermented foods also has a really positive impact. So, you know, it might, I mean, I don't like kimchi, I don't like sauerkraut, but I cook with it sometimes. So, you know, I'll add a tablespoon of kimchi or a tablespoon of sauerkraut into a meal, because it actually enhances the meal. It doesn't make it taste weird or anything. It actually makes the flavors pop. I very regularly cook with a splash of sherry vinegar or apple cider vinegar, again, just because it makes those flavors pop. And I use that for nearly every single meal. So you can add it that way, and it won't change the flavor. It'll probably just bring it a little bit more alive for you, but then you're getting the benefit of your fermented foods as well. Understanding how your macros work is an important one, because a lot of us are eating way too many carbs. And that includes your starchy carbs, your rice, your pasta, your flour. When you think about it, you know, if you have a spaghetti bolognese, and forgive me if you've already heard this one, because I use this a lot, but often we have a massive bowl of spaghetti with just a small amount of bolognese on top. The spaghetti, we're normally eating sort of 8 to 10 times what we need as a human in a sitting. So what I always recommend is, if you love your spaghetti, have a small serving of spaghetti, just to have a tiny amount, but then maybe have some zoodles or courgettes, you know, spiralize some courgettes or bell peppers, or whatever it is. Maybe do a cauliflower steak. I did this the other night. I roasted a cauliflower steak and I put my mincemeat with some kimchi on top of it. And that was absolutely delicious. The mincemeat, I put loads of vegetables in with that as well. And the onions, garlics, they're great for your gut health. And courgettes and tomatoes and mushrooms. So you make sure that you're getting loads of veggies in, that you're eating enough protein and fats. Do not go fat-free. If you're menopausal, I hear so many times they go, oh, I'm sorry, I've gone fat-free. It's like, no, we need our fats. Cholesterol is a precursor for all of our hormones. So while your body's struggling to come up with the hormones that it used to have, don't deny them the ones that it might still make naturally. So you want to have healthy fats. So your olive oils, your coconut oil, your avocado oil. Avoid seed oils, they're inflammatory, or they can be inflammatory. Butter, grass-fed butter. Don't worry about the saturated fat. Honestly, if you eat a normal, healthy way of eating, saturated fat is not an issue for you. We need some saturated fats. Fat has been given a really bad rap, and I eat loads of fats, healthy fats, and I'm not fat. It's the sugars that are the problem, that are going to be causing the problem, and too many of those carbs, so like the rice, the pasta, and too much potato as well. I mean, I love potato, absolutely adore potatoes, but in the evening, my potatoes are a treat. I'll either do air fried slow cooked chips, or I'll do sometimes I'll have a jacket potato, but it'll be a relatively small jacket potato. It won't be like one of the great big things that you get from the jacket potato stands. But more often than not, it's vegetables. That's how I'm getting my carbs in the evening, with protein. We need plenty of protein. As we get older, go through the menopause, our ability to assimilate protein reduces significantly. And particularly if you're strength training, you need sufficient protein in order to be able to fuel your muscles. And there's more and more evidence. There's been various studies out there. In fact, I was doing some really in-depth research on protein the other day, because people say, oh, can't it give you renal failure? And what if you eat too much protein? Doesn't it make you fat? And da-da-da-da-da. If you have kidney problems, you would want to check, and your doctor would probably advise you not to eat too much protein. But for everybody else, we need protein. And there were 3 groups of people, and one group only ate what the standard recommended amount is of protein. Next group ate, I can't remember what the percentages were, but percentages more than they were recommended to. And then the other group ate way more protein than they were recommended to. Both of the two groups who ate a lot more protein than the recommended daily amount was, they actually, their body composition changed. So they built lean muscle and they burnt fat. The group that was just eating enough protein as per the daily recommended allowance, they actually gained fat and they didn't build muscle. So it's so important that you're eating enough protein. Ideally, because you're probably thinking, oh, how much do I need then? It really depends. If you're strength training loads, your needs will be higher than what I'm about to say. I'm using what I tend to aim for, given the fact I strength train 4 to 5 times a week, and I also do short bursts of high intensity interval training, which are normally part and parcel of that strength training exercise. In any case, it's literally just a few minutes, and I aim to eat around about 140 grams of lean protein a day, and that's hard. When you first start, most of us are eating about half the amount of protein that we should be eating. My ideal weight is around about 140 pounds. And so you want to aim for a gram of protein per your ideal weight. So that's what I probably weigh more than 140 pounds now because of the muscle that I've built over the last few years. However, I don't use the scales as the indicator. If I can still wear the clothes that I wore in my teenage years, I've still got some, that's fine. And yes, my body composition has changed a little bit. I have got a bit thicker around the middle. I've had 2 very large babies, but I'm still slim, and I don't feel like I haven't got bulging belly fat. So it really is about achieving the best that you can have for the age that we are, and life's trials and tribulations that we've had. And we're never ever going to be completely youthful again. And I think it really is about having a mindset that is very grateful for the fact that we've got this far. So anyway, let's just live optimally for the ages that we are, and really make sure that we've got that energy, we've got that vavavoom still, that we still have enough energy to have fun in life, and that we feel like we know what we're doing, so that we can live a life that feels satisfying and fulfilling for us. Another effective solution for some people is intermittent fasting. Now, I say for some because I love intermittent fasting. It suits the way I eat really, really well. However, when I started to prioritize my protein, it meant that I needed to eat a protein-rich meal before I did my workout, which meant that I broke my fast a lot earlier than I had been. Well, when I stopped intermittent fasting, or having a strict sort of regime around my intermittent fasting, and started eating protein before my workout and then protein after my workout, I noticed significant improvement in my lean muscle mass. Belly fat went down even further, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how effective this is. It was a real leap of faith. I think with all of these things, you think, if I'm eating more, I am going to put weight on. It really does not happen. So long as you're eating the right macros in the right balance, you don't. You have to feed your body to burn fat effectively. And the more lean muscle you have, the more calories that you will burn. So I used to follow a 16-8. That's right, yeah, 16-8 intermittent fasting. So I'd fast for 16 hours and eat within an 8-hour window. And so I suppose now I probably am fasting for 12 hours, 13 hours maybe. By the time I try and finish my dinner by 7:30, and then I don't normally eat until probably 9 o'clock the next day. But yeah, so the good thing about intermittent fasting, or having a long period of time of no food at all, is the fact it gives you that insulin time to settle again. And it also gives your digestion time to just sort of relax a bit, let your digestive system rest a little, and also give your body just time to put energy to other things rather than just dealing with food. So intermittent fasting does have its benefits, but if you've been doing it and you're realizing, or you're feeling that it's not working for you any longer, it might be that it's actually causing more stress than it was previously because of our sensitivity to cortisol and the fact that your body just needs different things at this time of life. So it might need you to actually eat earlier. And if you do strength training, particularly if you're working out earlier in the day, I highly recommend to have a protein-centric pre-workout meal. Mine is normally Greek yogurt. I sprinkle some of my adaptogen herb superfood shake on because it's quite high in protein as well. And so obviously Greek yogurt contains protein. And I have some milled linseed on top of that. That's very high in protein. Sometimes I add some chia seeds, or I soak chia seeds overnight, and I just have some mixed berries on top of that. So it's not like a super heavy meal, but it's protein packed, and it's flavoursome, it's refreshing, it's light, and that's what I normally have as my pre-workout meal. And then as my post-workout meal, normally it's a couple of scrambled eggs with green beans or mushrooms. I always add vegetables to it, and I bake my own sourdough bread, so I have a round and a half of sourdough toast as well. And then I sprinkle nutritional yeast on top of that, and then that keeps me going normally until a late lunch, which again will be protein centric. And then my evening meal, again protein centric, but without the sort of starchy carbs, and I'll just normally have it with either salad or vegetables, potatoes or rice or pasta. I very rarely eat pasta, to be quite honest, but potatoes or rice. If I have it, it'll be in a very, very small amount, because we just don't need it. We have those sorts of carbs give us energy, and we don't need them as we're going to bed. It's unnecessary. Plus it's spiking your insulin higher than it needs to be. So if you can eat just your protein and your vegetables or salad before bedtime, and maybe avocado, some healthy fats, that's brilliant, because then your insulin's not too high before you go to bed, and then you've got your hours of being asleep and fasting naturally, and it just allows your body that time to recoup, ready for the next day. And that brings me on to sleep, because sleep is absolutely key. When we're sleeping, that's technically when we're losing fat. So when our body recuperates, when it recovers, it's when the brain flushes out those plaques, those amyloid plaques. It is absolutely essential for your healthy, optimal life. They use sleep deprivation as a torture tool for a reason. You cannot function properly if you're not sleeping well. And I know that might be really hard, because it's tricky through menopause. You got the hot flushes. It does affect your sleep rhythm. You might be waking up with anxiety. Again, that affects your sleep. So I think it's about being realistic and managing sleep as well as you can, and having really good sleep hygiene habits. Because I know when I slept badly, if I got so sick of sleeping badly that I just decided one day, right, I'm going to be so bossy with myself around sleep. So at night, at bedtime, all the lights are dimmed or pretty much off. My room is cool, and I refuse to work on the computer late at night. I absolutely refuse it, because it really messes up with my sleep. I don't work out late in the evening. I used to run 2 Krav Maga classes a week at one stage, and that was through my perimenopausal years, and they were in the evening. And even though I was literally dog tired, I was the only woman in the class, and it was so physical, and with the adrenaline, and it was so hard. And I just could not go to sleep, no matter how tired I was. The adrenaline, the stress hormones were just firing through my body. And so, avoid working out late as well, unless you're one of those anomalies and you love it and it suits you really well. I have a lady like that in my online health and wellness body confidence group at the moment, and she always works out late and she sleeps like a baby, so it works for her. So you have to find out what works best for you as far as your sleep rhythms go. If sleep is a problem though, try and get into the daylight early in the morning, or as soon as you get up, or soon after you wake up, because then that sort of sets your circadian rhythm, so that as the day goes on, it signals to the body, you're awake, you're up, you're out. But you need to be in the ultraviolet for that to happen. And then as the day progresses, your cortisol levels are going to decline, your melatonin, your sleepy hormone, will start to be released, and that should help you get to sleep more effectively that night. It's another reason why you want your gut health to be good, because that has it affects the neurotransmitters that help us feel happier, help us sleep better, help us feel rewarded and motivated, etc. So make sure you watch those videos that I'll add in the comments. And then the insulin fat storing one I will link to at the end of this video, and I'll also add the link to it in the comments below as well. So thank you for your company today. I hope you found that helpful. What have you found that has helped you reduce your menopause belly fat, or are you indeed struggling with it? If you want some help with losing the menopause belly fat, there's a form in the description box called your Sparkle Back form. Fill that in. It'll give me a really good idea of your goals and struggles, and then we can have a conversation, see if what I offer you is anything that you would want to do. The system I use, it is phenomenal. You get access to over 2,000 workouts. We're always adding to the platform. You also get nutritional support. In fact, you get access to 2 nutritional systems. You get access to a gut healing system. You get access to mindset resources. You get my support in my private body confidence group. It's brilliant value, and there's also different price points, so that if you're working within a strict budget, there is something for everyone. And it might just be that you want to jump in. You also get 30 days of the adaptogenic herb superfood shake for free, and that will help significantly with your belly fat loss, because it helps you manage your stress. It's got protein, it's got fiber. It heals your gut. It's got probiotics and digestive enzymes. So it really is. I swear by it. If I had to do either my workouts or have my superfood shake every day, as much as I love my workouts, I would choose the superfood shake, because that's something that is so unique. And if the worst came to the worst, I could do some squats and press ups and lunges and things like that myself, as much as that would be boring. But I technically could do that. I could not replicate the superfood shake that I have access to. So I'll leave that with you. If you've got anything you want me to cover in a future episode, either drop something in the comments below or send me a private message on Instagram. It's linked in the description box below, but it's at Kate Hartley UK, and I'd love to hear from you and hear how you're getting on. And I look forward to chatting with you next week.